Man, I cannot get this microphone to ever actually do anything. Okay, so we are here in the studio today. Thanks for joining my stream, folks. We got a few people on, what do we got here? We got 3 people on YouTube, 2 people on Twitch, and 3 people on Mixer. I want to say thanks for all you joining here. I'm very quiet? Shouldn't be. Yeah, it was, I had an issue. The microphone that I use down here, the button on it doesn't always work when you click it. So, I don't know. It works now, though. Huh? So, yeah. Oh, and there's my cat, as usual, meowing at the door. So what we're doing today, we are going to be finishing the build that I was working on last stream with. This is the Rev 1 Preonic. These are 67 gram Zelios that we opened up and lubed. And then we also desoldered the LEDs in them, put in SIP sockets. And so today, I'm going to be putting those LEDs back in it. Finishing the build, so we have to solder the SIP sockets on the bottom. So we'll solder the SIP sockets on the bottom, put the LEDs in, or actually we'll do that the other way around. Put the LEDs in, then solder the SIP sockets in, and then we will finish it up, put the keycaps on it, and this build will be done. After that, depending on how time goes, how we're feeling, going to be finishing up this one, which is a Rev 2 Preonic. This is the mass drop Preonic with a, this is with the milled aluminum high profile side. We're going to be putting that together, so we have a few things. iCreamyXZ on Mixer asks, is that a keyboard? And yes, it is. It is a keyboard. This happens to be one of my favorite models of keyboard. I have 5 of them because I am ridiculous. Let me show you here. This is like part of my collection, and I've got one more. You can see here. I've got one more upstairs that I don't feel like taking down here. But yeah, this is my little collection of keyboards, and they all have different switches. Speaking of switches, we have a new switch in today. These came in at the very end of the weekend. And these are Box Hako Royal Clears. Kind of a long name. But so these are a tactile switch that is actually a cousin of this switch. This is the Box Royal switch on this. These are Box Royal switches on these. So this is like an interesting mix because it's the spring, the stem, and the housing of the Hako style switches, but with the click leaf or the leaf, the tactile leaf from the Box Royal. So they have an interesting feeling, because the Box Royal has a punch through kind of effect. So the tactility is very high up and very strong. So when you push through it, it collapses very quickly. So it has this kind of punch through feel. Whereas this has a heavier spring, and the tactile bump isn't as heavy, isn't as thick, and so it has a much more smooth feel to it. So I think we're going to end up using this on the Mass Drop Preonic. We're also going to be putting LEDs into that. Mr. Keebs, welcome to the stream. How's it going? What are you up to today? I was just going over what we're up to today. We're going to be putting together a couple keyboards, and we're going to be doing one whole complete build on this one. This is about a 2-hour project. So hopefully we can get through this first part smoothly and move on to that. I want to show you one thing real quick, folks. I did the first enjoying your last U.S. vacation days. Oh, where are you from originally? Tedford on YouTube says, nice shirt. Hey, what's going on, man? I've been really busy this week, so it's been kind of ridiculous. I know that you wanted to hang out and talk Keebs sometime soon. I think when I come back from my work trip, I'll finally have some time and be able to relax. But I actually am doing this stream this morning, and then I have to go right back to work. as soon as I am done with it. So, but I wanted to show you guys, I did my first mass production of these tentacle keycaps. So this is the first run, or actually, sorry, the second run. I did a first run last time, and they turned out pretty good. But these ones are with a dual color kind of effect going on. Again, the camera does not do it justice. Maybe if I turn this light on, maybe it just needs more, maybe a little more light. But yeah, so this is with that dual color kind of thing going on. So yeah, these are the first high quality grabs from that. There was quite a little bit more here. There was like a couple more that came out of it, but these ones, I don't know. These ones, the stems didn't quite turn out how I hoped. So I've got to reevaluate my methods on those. But for the most part, these turned out pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with those. They're going to be sanded down and prepped for sale soon. Yeah, so there's those. Yeah, those turned out pretty damn good. I'm very pleased with them. And here's another example of them. Yeah, these are pretty good. Hey, what's up, Monkey Plus Plus? Yes, OG Preonic. That's where hey, actually, Monkey Plus Plus. I wanted to show you, since you know what these are. This is something I finally finished. It's not ready yet. They're not 100%, but I need to sand them down a bit. But that is the thing that I've been working on here. So eventually, once I put this together, there it is, man. These are my resin sidebars. They need to be sanded down and kind of polished up a bit. And I'm not entirely pleased with the mold, so I'm probably going to redo the mold as well. But there it is. That's what it'll look like. So this is pretty fun. This is a pretty cool little thing that I decided to go with. So I'm going to redo the mold probably sometime this week so I can get it perfected. And then hopefully bring some of those to the Seattle meetup. So for those of you who are coming to the Seattle meetup who have OG Preonic, you guys will have a chance to get some of those from me. The OG Preonic. I'm going to go with a couple colors. Probably going to I have the orange one, obviously. I'm going to do the laser color, so I'm going to do pink and purple. And a couple other ones and just get those together. But the mold just needs some work. It doesn't produce a very good sample. And actually, the reason why it doesn't produce good ones is because the way that these wood blocks are cut, they have this angle on the side that makes it difficult to get a good mold from them, because when I go to make the actual mold out of them, that little cut on the side, when I make it, like, the material doesn't quite fit perfectly in there, and so it ends up producing a weird result, and I have to sand it down a bunch. So I'm thinking I might just make a similar piece of this out of clay that I have available to me, and then just go with that and just make them out of clay and make molds from those. So I'm considering doing that. Probably gonna do that later on this week. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started on this. So the way that SIP sockets sit in here, and you can see that if you haven't seen it, I will show you again real quick how we do this. Let's do how these SIP sockets work. Oh, whoops, that's zoom. I want focus. So I wanted to show the way that these SIP sockets sit in there. You see how they just kind of sit at the very top of the switch? Kind of in that spot there. That's kind of... There we go. So you shouldn't really solder them in as is right here, because it's possible for those sockets to touch each other, and that will complete the contact. So what we want to do is we want to put the LEDs in first, and that will make the SIP sockets fit in the correct position so they're not touching each other. So the first thing we have to do is we have to cut the legs off these LEDs, and get them in there to fit right. Typically, I've found that you cut them, like all the LEDs have these little marks kind of in the middle here. See those little things there? So you can kind of cut right about there, and that's just about the right length to be able to put in the SIP sockets. So we're going to do that. Yes, always solder with an LED in them. So here we go. I'm going to clip those off, legs off right at that point. The legs are clipped off. And then, oh, you know what? I got to remember what side we're putting where. So, I think it's this direction. Yeah. Now the pain is getting them in there. They don't always want to cooperate. Come on. Oh, they do not. Yeah, they do not want to cooperate this morning. Okay, so that one's not going to go. Typically, yeah, the legs in there in that position will hold them together. Tobias Gustafsson, if you actually look at the LED itself, one side has a different shape. So after you cut them, you can still tell what side is which because of that shape. You just look at the actual LED itself. So I would show you, but there's one side that kind of like has a look that looks like a toilet bowl. I don't know how else to explain it. That's what it looks like. It looks like a little toilet bowl shape. And that is, I believe, the positive side. I believe that's the positive side. Or no, that's the negative side. The positive side is the side that has like just a little, like tiny little piece. There's one side that looks like a toilet bowl and one side that's just a little tiny piece. And yeah. So anyway, let's get one of those in there real quick. Like I said, doesn't always cooperate with me though. As they are just, okay. I haven't done this in a long time. Mess with SIP sockets. That is so. Bear with me while I get my groove back on how to get these things to line up correctly. Last time I did SIP sockets was last year, I want to say. Sometime last year around this time. I still have the board. Oh, wait. I don't remember. There we go. That should have gotten it. And then we're going to test the one LED just to make sure that we got it in place correctly. Come on. This LED will not go in there. There we go. It is now in place. We're going to plug it in real quick. We're going to test it to make sure that... And it's working. We are good. Okay, so I'll show you again real quick. The legs we're cutting off just above that flattened part of the LED leg. Just above it. And then it should just clip right in there. I'm going to try to get a better angle over here on this so you can see exactly what I'm working on. It's always hard to get a good angle on these. As I want to be able to see what I'm working on, but not in some bizarre camera angle. Okay. There we go. Let's get that focus going. Because I could try to get it right up against the board just like so, but it doesn't quite cooperate all the time. I need a better camera mount for this. The one I have, it's not bad, but definitely has some, shall we say, quirks. It was cheap. Come on. Stop fighting with me. Alright, that's about as good as it's gonna get. Unfortunately. I'll get a better camera mount one of these days. I actually do have a good one upstairs somewhere. I don't remember what I did with it. This one, the nice thing about this one is it has these like really adjustable feet. And so I'm able to change the camera position and like height and all that stuff pretty easily. Loud Popcorn, hey, thanks for joining. What you got going on today? Today, we are putting LEDs in a keyboard, and then we're going to be putting, soldering those in, and then we're going to build another keyboard. And we'll be building the other keyboard from start to finish. And unfortunately, Mange HD on YouTube, we are not lubing those switches. I looked at them and they really don't look like they are going to benefit from getting lube in them, and I don't think that they will. I don't think they're going to benefit from having lube, and I also don't think that they are going to stay lubed for long because of the nature of the way that switch is designed. Because I think the lube will just end up working its way out over time. I might SIP socket them though. I thought about it. Because those particular Mange, don't freak out, man. No, it's their box switches. They don't really benefit from having lube. And they are an absolute pain in the butt to open. I don't have any kind of tool or anything to use to lube those particular ones. So it's kind of difficult. And we got a lot of LEDs to go. So many LEDs. The last time I cut LEDs and was doing this, I went to clear the table off and got the LED leg caught on the edge of... I got the LED leg caught on the edge of the table and it stabbed me through the thumb. Tedford says he desoldered board, probably gonna rebuild it today. Yeah, man, do it. Do it. What board did you take apart? I know you're like all into HHKB and stuff, but interested to see what other board you got. Hey, Aslan, welcome to the stream, dude. Thanks for stopping by. We're finishing up kind of what we started the other day. Generic 60%. Cool. I'm just going to go ahead and clip the legs on these LEDs first before I start getting further along. So we're just going to do that. So what we're doing is like right here, you see this, the flat spot that's on these LED legs. We're cutting just above that near the actual LED itself. So we're cutting that. Just like that. And we're just going to go through these. There are 60 LEDs here. If I run out or break any of them, I still have some more. Anchorbait says I should lube switches. I am going to not lube the switches we're using today because they are box switches and they actually don't benefit from getting any lube. Not really. the only places you can actually lube them doesn't really help very much. The only place that I've seen or that people have talked about lubing them is like the top part of the housing, to sort of dampen the sound for when the switch, when the slider comes back up again. But that doesn't really bother me. So I don't really feel like I need to lube that part. I looked at lubing the sides of the slider, like the housing where the slider is, and there's holes in the bottom housing around that area. So over time, I think that the lube is probably going to end up like sliding out through that or leaking out through that, which will end up getting on my board, and then I'm not going to be happy about it. So I just figured, you know what? The stock switches feel fine as they are. I think I will stick with them as they are and just do it that way. Box switches are very different than regular switches. So they just don't benefit as much from lubing in those spots where most people do. Mange says it should bother me. Well, I'm not like a picky person like you are. So things don't really bother me as quickly as it does other people. If they did, I would not have been able to type on a normal keyboard for as long as I did. So those of you who know me, who've spent a lot of this time on this channel, know that I am all about ortholinears. Tedford says I need an ortholinear Topra board. That's something that everybody kind of wants, but is probably never, ever going to happen. Bad sound is bad sound, picky or not picky. Dude, Mange, you listen to metal. What do you know about bad sound? Metal sucks. Hate to break it to you, buddy. Yeah, ortho is the shit. So anchorbait, you can say that you don't like it, but you haven't given a good enough chance. So you ask me. Lubed ortho. Oh, speaking of music, let me get my playlist going. Ooh, my cats are fighting. So yeah, my cats are outside the door right now, howling at each other. Tim Brown says that some people hate the sound of Model M's, but they're not wrong too. That's true. I actually grew up on using a Model M, and I kind of like them. I haven't used one in, decades, but I had one when I was in college, and it was freaking sweet. Everybody made fun of me for having it, but it was a nice board, man. And those things last forever. Very solidly built. So if you guys want to know what we're listening to Chozo Legacy, which is from Game Shops. Well, it's actually a mix of stuff. So there's going to be, I put it on random, but there's going to be a mix of just various albums in here. I used to have like a ton of the Game Shops library, but I can't seem to find the files now, so I was looking all over for it. It's one of my bins somewhere. Digital files of it. Something like 22 gigs worth of video game remixes. Ooh, Tedford says that they last until they've drank too much coffee, huh? Speaking of coffee, I gotta get my coffee in. I haven't really drank any coffee today. I woke up and immediately started cleaning the house. I have to work tonight, so I had to get a bunch of my chores done early so that I could do my keyboard stream and still get my work done. Oh man, coffee is so good. Yeah, but Tedford, when I get back from Toledo, I'm heading out there on Friday. When I get back, I'll let you know, and we can hang out. And you're going to the meetup, right? I'm pretty stoked to go to the meetup, and I'm delivering a talk this year. I'm really hoping that it goes over well. Not many people know who I am in the community, so I'm not sure what it's going to end up being like. But I'm happy that I got selected. I mean, I'm going to be talking about streaming and creating artisans, and also kind of like how creating my artisans have... Tim Brown says there's a meetup. Yeah, meetup in Seattle. Keyboard meetup in Seattle. On the 29th? 28th? 29th? I can't remember. I can't remember if it's Saturday or Sunday. Anchorbait says, will my artisans work on staggered boards? Yes, they will. I've tested them on both boards. Both types. So they certainly will. Well, Tim Brown, you got to come to the meetup, man. I'm not sure. I don't have the information on me at the moment. But if you get on Reddit and look up on mechanical keyboards in Reddit, you should be able to see that. I'm going to be bringing a couple of my artisans to the meetup with me. I might be donating some of them to the giveaway pool. So again, we're just going through clipping these legs off just to get this out of the way, and then we'll go and place them in the board, solder those places in, and then we'll start the build of the mass drop Preonic. And we're going to be putting magenta LEDs in that Preonic because that board is going to be my laser board when finally all those parts come in. And my DSA drifter is finally going to be here. It's supposed to be delivered today. So I'm excited for that. Next week, or Monday, I actually have a Nyquist coming in. So I'll be building that as well. I considered saving the Royals, the Hako Royals for the Nyquist, and just using it for that, but I'm not entirely sold on split boards yet, so I'm not really sure if that's the direction I want to go. I should introduce my talk with what is Despacito. Yes. Maybe I should. I should introduce it with Despacito too. Dude, that video made me laugh so hard. I didn't think it was gonna be that funny. Yeah, that video just cracked me up. I'm really into random weird shit, so. Looks like we got 11 viewers right now, which is pretty good. Pretty good for today. Okay, all the LEDs are clipped now. So let's get rid of these LED legs. Move all these out of the way. Okay. And now we just go to putting them on there. What split board are you building, Tedford? What split board were you thinking of doing? So I have a Viterbi already, but I wanted an LED split board because I do want to try using split boards. I'm not entirely sold on them just yet, and I don't like. I really don't like the staggered layouts like ergodox, the what do you want to call it? Columnar staggered. I just don't like that style at all. Man, these LEDs are giving me a total headache. They will not cooperate. I don't know how I was able to get these in place last time. That particular one's not going to work. Oh, one of the first renditions of Let's Split, so it's probably the mitosis then. I think the mitosis was the first one. Atari, I should lube my royals with tribosis. That's what I've got, but I'm not going to, man. I'm not going to. I already said it. It's not going to benefit from it, and it actually will end up leaking that lube out over time. Because the holes in that board are going to cause it to are going to have a place to leak that lube out, and I do not want to have to clean lube off my PCB later. Wait, what's it say? So Tim says I should try it. Yeah, so Tim, I actually have one coming in on Monday. They already shipped it. I got all the parts for it and everything. Just waiting for it to come in. And then I will definitely build it and try it out. Preonic is my favorite, so don't let my memes be memes. Tribosis melds into the plastic, making the plastic smooth, according to Krellbit. Yeah, that's kind of not how physics works, but okay. It might not leak. Yeah, it might not leak, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to or not. And I don't have a switch opener for the Royals or the box switches either. So you have to open them up all by hand. And I don't know if you've ever opened up a box switch, but it is not as easy as it sounds. It's way harder than opening up a Cherry MX or an MX style switch. They have like a completely different clipping mechanism, and Jesus, man. As much as I love box switches, they really need to fix that shit, because that's some irritating shit right there. I use a hammer for my switch opener. So we're just about done with the first row. Problem is with these, it's hard to see the... There we go. It's hard to see the legs where they're going sometimes. So you gotta be like super attentive. Make sure they don't get caught. And then they just bend. But it's going much faster now. Tim Brown, no, I do not have any 30% boards because I am a normal human being. I'm a real, actual normal human being who likes to actually be able to use their keyboard instead of typing on a meme. So, no, I do not own any of those. What is GPL 103? You guys are memeing like crazy on me today. Yeah, actually, so what's funny is I love my Preonic because of the fact that it has a number row. I had a plank. That was my first, or or sorry, it wasn't my first ortho board. I ordered a plank, and it didn't come in for like, because it was mass drop plank, and so it didn't come in for, you know, 7 months after it was supposed to be there. So in the meantime, I had ordered a Preonic and started using that, and when I tried to go to the plank, I like the size of the plank. Like the physical size of it, I love how small it is. And the mass drop plank is kind of like a low profile style case. And so it was very small. It was very easy to take on, like taking to the airport and stuff. It was really convenient. But the problem was, they didn't have number keys. And so when I mean, I'm a programmer and stuff, and I use numbers quite a bit. So I was having to like hit the modifiers and, or not modifiers, but hit the layers and stuff and change a lot to press numbers. And sometimes I had to press numbers and a function key. So I had to do like function, you know, like F5 plus 5 or something weird like that. And can't, because I had to use 2 completely separate layers for it. And it doesn't quite work very well. So I stay with the Preonic. And that's kind of what I do now. Just build a 28 keyboard using in a compact build. Yeah, convinced it's unusable. Exactly. Like, how could you? You get 1 spacebar key and then 1 key to like tap between stuff. It's just like, I mean, it's funny, I guess, you know, but at the same time, not. Tobias Gustafson says, the only time I miss the number row on my 40 ortho is in games sometimes. Yeah, and that's the other thing, is I play a lot of video games, and I like switching my boards out between them, like to, you know, just play on a different board occasionally. And that's also the case that I use the number row a lot in a lot of video games. I play Warframe, and Warframe you have to hit the number row to use your abilities and stuff. So yeah, I got that going on for me. And I also do some kind of like, I do video editing and stuff. And I use the numbers for that. I don't know. You just kind of get used to having them. And then when you don't have them, suddenly you want them. And you got to press layers to use them. So that's why I designed the hand wire that I was working on a couple weeks ago, which I will finish, guys. I'm just waiting for the case stuff to get done. Anyway, so that's why I designed the hand wire that I was working on. Because the hand wire has function keys as well, which I don't use a ton, but I do use them. And almost every key set I own comes with function row keys, and some of them look really cool. And some of the novelties come in the function row, and I'd like to be able to use all the keycaps that I buy. So I figured, you know what, let's just make one. So I'm going to make, which essentially is a 75% or a 72% board. I guess you would call it a 72%. So I'm designing one. Probably going to do some prototypes of that next year. I'm working with someone to design the PCB, hopefully. I'm not sure if Monkey Plus Plus is still watching, but I do want to make that ortho board, man. You help me design the PCB. Hopefully. Tedford says he needs a milling machine. Think you got to start saving up for that instead of a new computer. Dude, if you get a milling machine, you let me know. You let me know, and I will pay you to use it. Because I want to mill a couple different things. Tim Brown says, surprised I don't have an atomic. I wasn't into the hobby when the atomic was around. So I never had one, never had a chance to even buy one. However, I do have the XD75RE, which is pretty much the same thing as the atomic. It's 15 rows, 5 columns, 15 rows. 5 rows, 15 columns. There we go. So that's the same thing. And then there's the subatomic, which Jack is going to release later this year. Yeah, Tobias Gustafson says that more horizontal rows, the atomic is the way to go. Sorry, no, not adding more horizontal rows is the way to go. More vertical rows is cooler. Yeah, I agree. So the one I'm going to be designing is going to be 6 by 12. And I can kind of show you, I'll show you the hand wire real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is my hand wire, which I will finish eventually. So there's my hand wire. This is just the switches and plates, but yeah, this is kind of a prototype for another build that I was doing, but that is, there you go. That is 6 by 12 with a space in the middle, because actually originally the board design, this top row was going to tilt towards the typist like this, and I still have plans to build it. I just have to get some pieces cut for it, and so it's supposed to be like this. So that way your function rows are actually really close by. They're just they're like right next to your fingers. That was the idea. And I tested it out, prototyped it with some wood, and I think it's going to work. But I need to get some wood cut for it, or a case cut for it. Anchorbait says, what's my preference for case design and feel when typing? What do you mean? I like high profile cases. I like the way they look. I don't like the floating key style type of keyboards that much, but it's kind of the only ones you can get in OLKB right now. The only ones you can get with OLKB stuff. But I would prefer to have like non-floating key. I would like to have high profile, which is why my Mass Drop Preonic, you may have heard me refer to it as my Cadillac keyboard, and that's because it's high profile and it gets kind of all the attention from me. Tim Brown's asking, are those box navies? Yes, they are box navies. Tedford says, man, you can design whatever you want and get busy. Yeah, I mean, I know I can design whatever I want, and I have the, I have the knowledge to do it, but the problem is time. I don't have time. With the job that I have, I'm a project manager and developer, and I've got 3 very high-profile projects. Well, 1 high-profile project, 1 semi-high-profile project, and 1 kind of high-profile during certain times of the year project. And then I have another project that's coming along that's starting in November, that is also potentially high-profile, but the client asked for some information on pricing. And long story short, it's not software that we get a lot of profit from supporting, I guess you would say. So, we have to make it, worth our while. And so we gave them a price and they were not happy with it. But it's not that important. That Mass Drop Preonic is a caddy for sure. Yeah, OLKey needs more staggered aluminum high-profile TKLs. Ooh, maybe. You don't use mine because you split now. The keyboard is like my project's high-profile. Yeah. I really like high-profile cases a lot. And I like interesting cases. The OG Preonic. The OG Preonic is a really cool-looking case. It's got this interesting little bent steel. It's got the wood on the sides. I just think that it was an interesting style. kind of sad that he doesn't make it anymore. But he was saying that it was kind of like sourcing the parts. He had to source them from like 2 different places, or whatever, to get the different pieces. And I guess the what do you want to call it? The yields weren't great, I guess, or the yields weren't awesome because of the fact that like the bent plates didn't always turn out that great, and then because the people who cut the plates would also laser them, and there was a lot of rough edges and stuff like that. So the good thing about the projects that I'm working on though for work is that they might end up being very lucrative for my company, you know, so that's cool. That just means that, like, hopefully, you know, we'll do well and be able to move on to the next phase of our company's life cycle. And who knows, maybe I will end up moving on to my next phase of my career. So I gotta look forward to that. So all the work I'm putting in, like what I'm working on this weekend, is to hopefully get us into a good position for that. We are almost done with this, guys, and as soon as we got this in place, we will begin soldering and we'll be ready. Tim Brown asks, what do my coworkers think of my boards? So my coworkers think I'm crazy. Well, a couple of them do anyway. One of my coworkers, my boss actually, he used to make fun of me, kind of pick on me for it. And then one day, he had to sit down at my desk to help me with some code. And he sat down and he typed on my, it was my clue board with 65 gram Zelios. He typed on it for about, 30 seconds. And he stopped and he looked at me and he was like, dude, this board feels great. He like looked at he was like, dude, this board feels amazing. He was like, where can I, build something similar? How much was it cost? So I helped him out. He got a Philco Majestouch 2 with cherry browns. And I was like, well, it's a good start, but cherry browns are not very good. So after about a month of him using it, I took it home, desoldered the switches, I had someone help me desolder them. We desoldered the switches. I put in 65 gram Zelios and a set of Dev TTY keycaps, and he freaking loves that board. And so he bought a second Majestouch 2 somewhat recently. And so now I was typing on it the other day and I told him that I couldn't let him continue to use it. So I'm actually going to desolder those ones too. And put in some other switches for him. I think we're going to go with Kyle H. Box Browns. I think that's what we decided on, because he doesn't want to spend a bunch of money on them. I gave him the 65 gram Zelios for free, because it was just like kind of a birthday gift for him. So I'm down one LED, so let me get one for my stash. So yeah, we're gonna give him. I'm gonna give him Kyle H. Box Browns, because they're like super cheap. Tim Brown says you should put box royals in them. Yeah, dude, do it. Box royals are freaking nice, man. They definitely have an interesting feel compared to other Switches. And they take some getting used to, but I mean, I use my box royals for my work board because I like them so much. It's just a very interesting feeling, but it's the way I describe it is it's almost like it's like a clicky Switch without the click. That's the only way I can really describe it. Okay, let's make sure these LEDs are all wired correctly. I guess it doesn't really matter because we can, since they're SIP socketed, we can just put them back in the right direction if they aren't. So let's get this soldered up. Get our exhaust fan going. Oh, and actually, while we're at it, let's do a real quick, I'm going to show you guys the board that I'm building, or I built for my friend Carly Toboggan. She's running a giveaway. And I painted the board. I did this for her. It's a pretty cool little giveaway. I recommend you check it out. At least check out the imagers stuff. If you're not going to join the giveaway itself, you can check the imager there. Take a look at the board itself. It is boxed up and ready to ship. Otherwise, I would show it on the stream, but it is pretty much ready to go. So, all right. One second here. But yeah, that is the giveaway board. It is a hand painted. Well, it's a hand painted K-type. I put a lot of work into it, guys. About 30 hours of work painting it and doing some other customizations for it. And Carly, the gal who is working with me on the giveaway, is super cool. She's super fun to watch on Mixer. She does Fortnite. She plays Fortnite. We've been talking about her maybe playing another game with me. We haven't decided on a game yet, but she's gonna try to maybe play some PC games with me. So that should be fun. Hopefully, that'll be sometime probably later this year. All right, let's get to soldering. Soldering iron needs water. Fan is going. Okay. Soldering iron's heating up. So this shouldn't take too long. Soldering wise, this is pretty quick. 2-player Hyperlight Drifter. I don't know. I'm not sure what we're gonna play. Because she was saying that she didn't want to play like PvP games with me. Tedford says, "Quake 2 sticky walls." Yeah, I don't play PvP games. I've never enjoyed them. So I'm not sure what we're gonna play yet. We talked about a couple co-op games that we could play. Just for some interesting like co-op action. So maybe Borderlands or something like that stuff. I'm not sure if she'd like Warframe. I'd try to get her to Warframe if I could. Alright, soldering iron is warmed up. Let's get going. Let's get jamming on this. So easy to do. I love my Hako soldering iron. This thing is the best. Definitely one of my better purchases that I've done for this hobby. Alright, I gotta fix this. So when I bought this solder, it was like not wound correctly. So there's like 2 different like threads of solder. It's really annoying. Euphorical, I was lonely on Twitch. Hey, what's going on, Euphorical? Good to see you, man. I didn't see you typing in Twitch at all. One of the few people you see soldering well? What do you mean? People don't solder very well? I mean, I use a professional soldering iron, and I used to be... I was actually a trained electrician in the military. So I did this a lot. I was in the Navy for 2 years, and I worked on electronics and airplanes. And the thing is with soldering, the finer the solder is, that's more prominent. Yeah, Tim, a lot of people make or have an issue with cold joints because they never learn proper technique, I think. They're not heating the pad, I think, is a big one. They're afraid of burning their board because they're probably using a cheap soldering iron. I think that's a pretty common thing. But yeah, I don't like using super thick solder. I like using the finer solder because it melts much faster. So you have a lot less problem with contacting the, or leaving your soldering iron in the contacts. So I prefer using these thinner solders. But it does produce a lot more, it does have a lot more rosin in it. I end up having a lot more rosin in on my board as leftovers. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't really affect the board itself. It just kind of looks funky. Which, actually, the reason why there's so much rosin on the board right now was because I was using a desoldering gun. Desoldered a bunch of stuff on this board. A bunch of switches and such. And the desoldering gun was the temperature was set too high. So it burned a lot of the rosin. We're just moving right along. Yeah, you can... so, I mean, what I should say about that is, if you're using... You can use a cheap soldering iron, that's fine. But the problem with I find that a lot of people have is that they're amateur solderers, which is totally fine. It takes practice. And so what they're doing is they're using a soldering iron that's probably not designed for finer electronics work. I find that a lot of people end up using plumbers' soldering irons because they go to look for them at like a hardware store or someplace like that, and they end up getting plumbers' soldering irons, which run way hotter. And the iron tip is very, very big. And so, naturally, they get afraid they're going to burn their board. And so they don't keep the soldering iron in the right spot for long enough to do it right. Or they're using just some soldering iron they bought on Amazon that doesn't have a temperature control, and they don't let it get hot enough. That's another possibility. But it's hard to say because I don't watch other people solder, except for Pete, you know, from One Up Keyboards. I've seen him solder, and I know he does a good job. But the nice thing about this Hako is it's temperature controlled. So Tim Brown says, yeah, I'm impressed. My tip is always tinned. You always heat the pad first. You never bump the joint before it cools. Yeah, I was trained and not only was I trained, but I also, you know, I've done this a lot at home. Yeah, I do this all the time at home. So not only did I do this in the military, but when I got out of the military, I was in a program for, like an art program for creating digital art, kind of like digital art and electronic art installations. And yeah, I was doing digital art and electronic art installations. I had to do all kinds of soldering. That was my first experience with Arduinos, was working in that program. And so we used Arduinos and stuff. And I had to learn how to solder like tons of LEDs and little micro components and stuff. So lots and lots of practice. All right, let's take a short coffee break, and then we'll get back into it. For some reason, my playlist stopped playing, even though I know that we're not all the way through it. That was weird. Whew. Yeah, I had, it was a lot of fun. It's very difficult, but yeah, I do, I still have the software to do it, but I was building like these massive, donut break. Oh, I wish. I want a donut. So I was building these massive like art installations that did, they were reactive, so it was sound reactive, and some of them were actual like instruments. I wish I could shoot myself for doing this, but I never really kept good photographs of my art installations, and so there is almost no record of any of the work that I did back then. I think I might have like 1 or 2 photographs somewhere, but they kind of disappeared and never to be seen again, which really sucks because I had this one that was like this. I took circuit boards and I spray painted them gold, and then I like glued like little gems and stuff on them and put in LEDs, and I set them up in this kind of like a diorama, so it looked like an old Catholic cathedral, like the altar of an old Catholic cathedral, and then I hand built a keyboard, like an actual like typable keyboard. I hand built it all from switches and everything else and diodes. This is before I even knew anything about making mechanical keyboards. So I built this whole board and put that into the art installation so you could play this organ. It was like programmed to be like an organ, and you could play the organ, and it had this, like, it reacted to the sound and the lights would light up depending on what keys you pressed. It was really cool. It was really, really cool. And actually the director of the program, I was an undergrad at the time, trying to get into the master's program, and the director of the program saw my art installation and he pulled my instructor aside and he was like, "Is this guy in the master's program?" And my instructor was like, "No, he's an undergrad, but he wants to get in the master's program." And the guy was like, okay, whatever we can do, let's get him in. And so I was this close to getting into the master's program for digital art, but I looked at like how much money it was going to cost, and you know whether or not I'd ever be able to pay off those loans and stuff, and couldn't convince myself to continue with it, so I didn't. It happens. Okay, guys, let's finish this up. We got 2 more rows, or well, no, we got 3 more rows to go, so let's do this quick. I want to get to making that other Preonic, so I might end up taking some of my, hey Renegade, how's it going? Looks good, thanks. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty fun board. We're doing some good work here today. It's lots of fun. But yeah, I'm hoping maybe I should bring my soldering iron with me on this trip, or at least see if my friend that I'm staying with has one. And maybe I can do kind of a quick and dirty keyboard stream while I'm on this work visit. The guy that I'm going to be hanging out with, it's a good friend of mine back in Ohio. He's an electrician, but he's a contract electrician, so I'm sure he has a soldering iron, but it's not going to be for microelectronics. So it could be difficult to pull something like that off. As much fun as it would be, you know. We are just moving right along. My cat is begging to get in, as usual. So maybe I'll bring him in here in a minute, like I usually do. Man, some of these solder pads look like garbage. Or not pads, but the rosin on it looks terrible. And I could hit it with some rubbing alcohol, I guess, but it doesn't really bother me that much. The thing about cleaning it with the rubbing alcohol is this. It takes a little time, and it kind of gets everywhere. But I don't know. I had to find a sacrificial toothbrush to do it as well. So what do y'all got going on this weekend besides watching me solder keyboards? Anything interesting going on? It was a gorgeous day in Bellingham yesterday. Absolutely gorgeous. But then we had thunderstorms last night. And the temperature dropped real far. And so I was able to get some resin casting done. For the last stream I was doing, I did some resin casting, and at the very beginning of the stream, and the studio gets very hot. And so the resin cured way faster than it should have, because it was like probably close to, honestly, it was probably mid-80s, close to 90 degrees in the studio. And so that resin just like immediately cured. I had almost no chance to use it, which was a real shame. Okay. We are getting through here. It's starting to rain. Where are you at, Renegade? It's supposed to be pretty cool in Washington today. I think the high is only like 70 degrees or something. So, where are you located, Renegade? As soon as I'm done soldering these LEDs in, I'm gonna go get my cat so you guys can see my garbage son. I love him, but he is a terrible boy. McAllen, Texas. Ooh, my brother lives in Texas. He's stationed in an Air Force base in Texas, and I can't remember where in Texas he is. I want to say Abilene is where he's living. I think he's in Abilene, Texas. Yeah, that's my baby brother. He's like, I think he's 8 years younger than me. Somewhere around there. His birthday is in a couple of weeks. I keep telling him I'm going to send him a fart in a bag, because I haven't seen him in like 3 years. Middle of nowhere. Yeah, so he like I said, he's in the Air Force, and there's a base somewhere nearby him. I don't know where though. We are almost done with this, and we will turn on those LEDs, see how they glow, put the keycaps on, and we'll call this one done, and then we'll build the next one. And we may even have time to do one casting, maybe one resin casting. We'll see though, because it's pretty warm in here. It's not quite as warm as it was the other day, but it's still pretty warm, and that could cause a problem. Because the resin, you just don't have much time to work with it. So, I don't want to risk it. So I thought about putting some LEDs on the sides of this board as a way of kind of wiring them with a hand wire, so that I can put glow on those side panels. But I kind of don't really know how to set that up at the moment. Like, I'd have to find some pads that I'm not using, which I guess I have a couple. There's like one right here, one right here. So I guess I could use those and just kind of wire them over with a hand wire to a couple LEDs on the sides here, and just kind of light those sides up. So maybe I'll do that. That could be fun. See if I can get that done before the meetup. But okay, it is put together. It is all soldered together. So now let's take a look. Let's plug that in. Test, make sure all the LEDs. All right, we got one that's not lit up. And it's not lit up because apparently I skipped over it. Yeah, I think those are going to be a good diffuser. I just have to wire the LEDs and kind of hold them in place somehow. So I think I have enough LED spots that I can probably put 2 LEDs per side. because I've got like one here, one here, two here. Yeah, I think I've got enough. I might even be able to put 3 on each side. Because I would just use these orange LEDs, which I've got about 6 or 7 of them left. Was that piezo buzzer? Yeah. When you plug in a Preonic or any OLKB board, they have a speaker on them. There it is. It's all lit up. Looks pretty good. Have you never seen one of these before? Have you never seen a Preonic in use before? Because there's actually a let me show you here. There's actually a mode. I gotta remember what mode it is. No, that's not it. There it is. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Yeah, but all of the Preonics, or all of them have that. All right. Yeah, actually, so I think that I should have that still set up on here too. I flashed this board. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Pretty fun little function on there. All right, let's get this board put back together. Get a bottom plate. All right, so the bottom plate, just like that. And the screws for it are in here. Make sure I'm not missing anything. No. All right, and then my screwdriver. Yeah, man, I suggest you get one. They're cool boards, man, and they're not very expensive. Right now, though, they're all out of stock because Jack Humbert is redesigning the PCB. And so he doesn't have any in stock. So keep that in mind if you do try to get one. So Renegade's asking how many hours have I put into this build. This one in particular, because I lubed the switches, probably about 4 hours. It's somewhere around 4 hours, maybe 5. Because lubing switches just takes forever. So lubing switches plus SIP sockets, if I were to do this as a pure build from beginning to end, would probably be somewhere around 5 hours. And I need a better screwdriver. I think my screwdriver's upstairs. I might have to run up there and get it. I was putting together some parts upstairs the other day. I left a bunch of stuff up there. A bunch of my tools. Really, I just need to get better tools. The tools I've been using are substandard, for sure. Yeah, this screw didn't go all the way in. All right, I'm gonna go get my better tools. I'll be right back. There we go. Better tools for sure. Still not great. I have to go to the store and just buy myself a good set of, like screwdrivers and all that kind of stuff. Because I have a couple good sets of other tools. But I just need an actual good set of hand tools like screwdrivers and everything. Okay. So that's on there. And we're not gonna put the sidebars on there until I'm done doing. I gotta sand these down before they're ready. But that's what'll go on there to match the orange of the LEDs. So I'm going to sand these down first and get them all nice and prepped up. But that's what it's going to look like when it's all done. Kind of like these orange sides. All right, let's get those keycaps on there. Ooh. And so someone asked, I believe it was Tim. Tim asked about what LEDs I'm planning on putting in my other board, the other Preonic. I'm going to be putting magenta LEDs in the Preonic, in the one I'm building next, because I love that color. I think that's right. So these are the MT3 keycap set. This is Dev TTY MT3, and MT3 is the profile. It's a high profile set that was kind of designed after like some of the old computer keyboards. It's a pretty cool set. I really like it. It looks really good, and it feels amazing to type on. Massdrop runs it, every once in a while. I'm not sure how often they actually run it, but I imagine they'll probably end up running it again soon. It was very popular, so they ran it a while ago, and then there was a lot of issues with the legends, which I still have a lot of the issues with the legends on mine. I haven't swapped them out. They gave me some replacements for the ortholinear legends. I just haven't gotten around to swapping them out, so I'll do that soon. And it's a nice profile. I definitely like the feel of it. You can tell that he put a lot of work into making it just right, because it feels great. Finger wise, like just the feeling on the fingers is very satisfying. Oh wait, we want this goes here. I can never remember where my layout is. I always get confused. I'll put that one in later. It's Windows key. Enter, escape, alt. That's my any key. Yeah, but it's a cool feeling profile. I'm actually planning on making resin castings of this profile here soon. I haven't done it yet because I've been focusing on some other stuff, but I want to start making these in resin cast keycaps because the profile feels really, really good. It feels nice to type on. The only problem, of course, is that not a lot of people have this particular set, and so while I could put this in, and start resin casting it, there's not a lot of people who are even using it right now. So it's kind of like I could do it, but who's going to end up buying them? feel like I'm putting these in the wrong places. I always get confused when I start putting these keycaps back on. Because of all the different, like, I don't remember exactly where the letters are by hand. Yeah, and it's niche inside a niche. That's very true. But the people who do have this board or this particular set, they love it. And so it's kind of one of those people, I think the people who would be wanting to buy this kind of stuff would love to be able to get resin keycaps made from it because of the fact that there's, you know, a few people who actually use it. So I can never remember where the keys are in this bottom row. ZXCVBNM, I believe. I always forget. Yeah, that's right. I don't know why I forget that row, but I'm always like, I don't know what goes where. Yeah, but the way that these feel, like the shape of it, like is very cupped looking. I mean, the shape of it, the way it looks, if you can kind of see here, it's almost the way that homing cups on regular like SA profile looks like. And so it's very, very deep dish already. And then the actual homing dish ones are even more deep dish. So it's got this really interesting feel on your fingers. So I think a lot of people are going to really like, you know, once they come out with a different set, or, you know, because I think that there's probably going to end up choosing some other color profiles and stuff. I actually thought about contacting Mastrop and seeing if I could work with them on creating a colorway for this particular profile because I like it so much. But that just requires a lot of work that I'm not really even sure I'm ready to invest my time in yet. So, and plus, you know, I'd have to design it too. And, I don't know. Maybe someday, if I can be convinced. There we go. All right, let's see it lit up. All right. Yeah, not bad. Looks pretty good. And once I get those bars in place on the sides, it should look nice and bright. Yeah. You can kind of see the orangeness of it. And I think the orange color really matches this profile. Looks very industrial. Yeah, cool. Pleased with that. So, yeah, I'll get these sanded down and put on there, and then I'll post pictures of them. So these are lubed 67 gram Zelios. Mange HD, if you're listening still, I don't feel the difference in the lubing. I know you don't want to hear me say that, but it made a difference in the 78 gram ones, but I don't really know if I feel the difference on these ones. But it requires a couple days of typing before you end up really feeling it. But I can hear the sound is different. On the downstroke, the sound is definitely a little more muted. Yeah, sounds a little more muted. Okay, next up. Rev 2 Preonic. Switch plate. Okay, so we're going to be putting, the switches we're putting in this are the Kyle H Box Hako Royal Clear. These are a very new switch. They were just released. So they're very, very new. And I like the way they feel quite a bit. So I'm going to be putting magenta LEDs in this, and because of the way that these switches are designed, you can either put them in most box switches didn't have a hole. They don't have the hole right here. So this is the first box switch that I've gotten that actually has the holes for LEDs on it. So I can actually put LEDs on this board, on the switch itself. So kind of what I'm talking about, like there's like these tiny holes where you can actually fit the legs through. They just slide right in there and it goes right there. So then you have an on switch LED kind of like that. Now the other thing that I could do is I could use the SIP sockets, which I have a ton of now, but I can use SIP sockets, and I can put the SIP sockets in here just like I do with these ones, and then we'd have SIP socketed LEDs. But the other side of me, I really like the under switch, or what would normally be an in switch, but these have a hole in the bottom, so it would be under switch. I really like the look of in switch LEDs. I feel like they have a better glow to them. I could give you an example of what an in switch LED looks like. So this is what in-switch LEDs do. They kind of make the entire switch housing itself glow, as opposed to what we did on the previous board, where the LED is on top. When you do that way, the LED shines more light into the bottom of the keycap. It doesn't quite hit the switches as well. And yes, I know there's one burned out switch here. I gotta fix that one. That one had some issues. Same with there's one switch over to the side here. I think I clipped the resistor for one of these and it doesn't work anymore. So I gotta fix that too. But getting back to what I was saying, yeah, I like in switch better. So I think we're just gonna end up using in switch. SIP sockets are nice and all, but the problem with SIP sockets is you have to solder them in. And that takes freaking forever. So if I put these in beforehand, I think it'll just be nicer. Thing I like about these is also these magenta LEDs. These are 2x3x4 LEDs. Let me change this so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So 2x3x4 LEDs they have a different shape. You can see that shape there. They're a square shape with a flat bottom, flat sides and a flat bottom. Now if you take a look at these other LEDs that I was using, these are the ones that I put in that other build. Look at the difference here. See how small that is? Very small. Now look at this one. As you can see, side by side, yeah. So you can see they're side by side. This one is just a very different shape. Now they're about the equivalence in brightness, I think. I think these guys are just a little, I think the smaller ones are a little bit weaker, but not by much. But you can see the shape of the legs there? How this one's flat, this one's not quite flat. So when I try to mount them directly or put them directly into the board, into this PCB, the smaller ones don't quite sit flush. And so because they don't sit flush, it's very hard to solder them in place without them getting all wonky. And I've had lots of issues with that, especially with these box switches, because of the fact that the switch itself does not hold the LED in place. So I've had some issues with that, and it was definitely a challenge to get those done correctly. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it that way. Just from that just because of that. So putting them under isn't so bad. I just have to put them in place and then make sure that I can solder them in. So usually what I end up doing is on the bottom side here, I just kind of bend the legs like that, and it holds them in place reasonably well, and then I can solder them in. So that's one way of doing it. Problem with doing it that way is then it makes it harder to desolder them later, which shouldn't be an issue. I shouldn't really have to be desoldering these all the time, which is, again, why I would put SIP sockets in normally. But I don't want to put SIP sockets in these ones because they are a different type of switch, a different type of design. It doesn't quite work out that well. Okay, enough talking. Let's get these LEDs in place. So all I'm doing is I'm going through, I'm putting the LEDs in, I'm bending the legs over. The other way of doing this would be to put them in a, do like a fifth hand, or a third hand, or whatever they call it. Fifth hand. Yeah, fifth hand, because I have 4 hands. Now put it in a third hand, and that helps out a lot, but I do not have a third hand, so let's get our music playing again. Yeah, we're just putting these LEDs in. I'm going to move this camera back just a little bit. All right. Really looking forward to the meetup this year. Last time I went last summer. And I didn't know anyone there, and so it was kind of awkward for me. I'm not the most socially competent person when I'm around people I don't know. So it was very awkward for me. I didn't know anyone. It's kind of uncomfortable. But after, kind of that meeting and just getting to know people on Discord and a couple other places, I'm a lot more comfortable now. I feel like I will be comfortable this year because I'm going to know quite a few people. People who have seen me on stream, people I've met, online. So it'll be interesting. I'll actually get to talk to some people who I've connected with over keyboards. And some of the people who are at the meetup, ended up talking to me, on Discord or wherever, and remember who I am now. They just remember me as the guy with the really pink shirt, though. That was kind of what they knew me for, which is funny. All right, my cat's bugging me to get in, so hold on a second. Hey, buddy. Loki. My garbage boy. My little garbage boy. Yes. Here he is. He's so stupid. Yeah, you're a stupid boy. That's Loki, my garbage boy. I love him, but boy, is he a handful. Tedford says he's going to introduce me to everyone. So I remember meeting a few people. Obviously, I've met Mech Merlin. I've met Ethan. I barely remember Ethan, though. I've met Quakeums. I almost got a ride to the Korean barbecue place with Quakeums, but it just wasn't going to work out. There were too many people and a couple other issues. I've met Brandon. Who else have I met? I met a couple people. But I figure, I'll be up on doing that talk, so I figure, people will kind of remember who I am after the talk, but some people might recognize me from Mech Merlin's little Meet the Community video he did, which was really cool. I'm really kind of flattered that he chose me as someone to meet, and do the video for or on. So it's kind of flattering. Get some interesting recognition from someone who's kind of well known in the community. The whole barbecue thing was a mess. Yeah, the problem is that the place that they told me where they were going, the name of it, I guess there's 2 locations, and one of them was pretty far away, and I didn't end up going to the right one. So that kind of sucked. So I ended up just getting food in a different place anyway. But I also heard that so many people showed up to that barbecue that it took people an hour or more to get their food, which I guess is a potential massive problem. You got to call ahead on those kinds of things. Which I think we should try doing this year. Not this year? No way. You're not going to do the barbecue thing this year? Yeah, I think if we do any kind of group food activity, we should call ahead and maybe not call ahead and order, or if we do call ahead and order, call ahead a massive pile of fried rice for everybody, or something like that. You're not going to let me miss out? Alright, well cool, man. Yeah, I don't want to miss out on it this year. I heard it was a lot of fun. I just figured it'd be a nice place to let my hair down and, chill out with a couple people in the community. Because we're all going to be pretty busy and being socialites and stuff at the keyboard meetup. It's a bit different. So, you're going then, right? I'm actually staying at a friend's house that weekend. I'm gonna stay at my friend's house for the weekend, and then after the meetup, probably gonna crash at her place and drive to work the following day. So that should be cool. I think there was a few people that got left in the fray because everyone was trying to not let one particular person find out where it was. Ouch! That's rough. But I did hear something about that apparently someone in the community was, I guess, kind of had some issues with someone else, and so they didn't want that person there. I remember hearing something about, yeah, some drama or whatever. I think it was kind of like boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend kind of drama as well, wasn't it? It was kind of romance related. Oh, someone that was shady and owed some money. Oh. For some reason I thought it was a boyfriend they didn't want showing up or something like that. I can't remember. But I'm whatever. None of my business. Huh. Oh, that's unfortunate. There were multiple things. Yeah, I think I just think that if we're gonna do it, try to get the knowledge between a small group of people and pre-order. I really think we should pre-order like a huge thing of fried rice and just say, let's get a bunch of fried rice. That way when we get to the facility or get to the place, we've got fried rice to eat until we can make our orders for the regular food. Because that'd be nice. Because the last time I was there, like, well, we're going to be at a different venue. The last time I went to the meetup, by the time that we got off to the meetup, I was absolutely starving. Like, I would have eaten anything. I can't have that happen again, man. I was way too hungry. Wait, what is this? Also, I'm trying to freak out if my parts for this thing don't get here in time for the meetup. You have been sending too many messages. Take a break and try again. Edit and try again. What? Sending too many... Oh, I think it says that you've been... I think YouTube's trying to tell you that you're chatting too much. Which, I don't know why it's telling you that. So we're just kind of putting the LEDs in here, then we're going to solder these in place. Then we'll place the switches in place on top of that. I'm getting a little confused about the placement of these. The bottom row is a little confusing. Oh, which reminds me, the new PCB, specifically for the plank, but maybe for the Preonic as well. Jack made so many allowances for other like alternate builds. Like the bottom just looks like Swiss cheese. I'm a little concerned about how things are going to fit in that board and how sturdy it's going to be, because I mean it's like tons of little holes everywhere. It could be very confusing to figure out what goes where. Yeah, I've got I wanted to build that hand wire for the meetup, but it's just going to take too much time, and I just don't... I have too many things that I'm working on, so... I mean, I could build it by hand, but... figure, I got enough things I'm working on. Is there a PCB that supports staggered and ortho? Yes. I'm trying to remember what PCB it was, though. It was not a big one. It wasn't a big run. It was something from like Z Frontier, I want to say. Or KBD fans, maybe, that I saw it. But it did have placements for both staggered and ortho. Shoot, I can't think of the name of it. Oh yeah, Dr. Doom Apple, I saw that. It's looking a little Swiss cheesy, man. What did you build it for? And you designed it? Did you use KiCad or KCAD or whatever it's called? Because I saw you post a picture of it on Discord. All right, let's solder these LEDs in place. Eagle, okay. Yeah, I gotta get with eventually I'll learn how to use PCB designing software. But then again, I can always work with someone else who already knows how to do it and have them do it for me. Okay. Fun part. Still have to get the wireless modules to work. I didn't realize it was a wireless board. Someone the other day was asking me if there's a wireless ortho, and I honestly do not know. I do not know if there's a wireless ortho. I'm sure there is somewhere, but I've never actually seen it or know anyone who used it. Alright, this board's gonna get away from me. We should mill our own PCBs and then use the old pen and acid etching. No way! No! That's why they designed software to do it for you. So you didn't have to do that shit. No way, man. This board keeps getting away from me. And that should help. So again, all we're doing right now is we're just soldering the LEDs in place, and then we're going to put in some switches, and we're going to we'll put our switches in place, and then we'll go from there. So that's the next thing we want to do. Yeah, I think there is a company, a Chinese company, that will sell you just the... hold on a second. I'm going to fix this camera. I'm going to fix this real quick, because it's really bugging me how it's not wanting to angle correctly. It's like, it just refuses to get into a good angle. There we go. It's a problem with these like super adjustable cameras is they copper, they're made pre-made copper plate FR2 plates. Yes. I was looking at, there's a company, a Chinese company that sells those. Because someone else kind of wanted to do the same thing. Was talking about it in Reddit. Okay, back to it. Soldering LEDs is actually one of my least favorite activities. As opposed, well, second only to lubing switches, which is my absolutely least favorite thing to do. But soldering LEDs it's just very slow. So yeah, I've never etched my own PCBs, but I think I want mine pre-printed. So I'm gonna either have to learn it or work with someone, which I was saying to Monkey Plus Plus. He and I were talking about maybe designing a board together. So maybe I'll work with him. I thought about it as trying to like actually make it as a sellable product, but I don't know. It seems like a lot of hassle, and the ortho crowd is pretty small, so I just feel like there's not a lot of interest in ortho boards in general, but in specialty weird formats, probably far less interest in that. Alright, so Loki has apparently donated a whisker to this board. Okay, one row down. When you were 10, you enjoy soldering LEDs and lubing switches? You're ridiculous. Yeah, when I was younger, I used to go to Radio Shack pretty often. But I wasn't buying electronic parts usually. Because I didn't have any money. So really, I was going because it was the summer. I would go in the summer when I was visiting my mom, and there was a Radio Shack down the road, and they had air conditioning. And so I would go there to like look at weird electronic things like components and stuff and hang out in the air conditioning for an hour before heading back out again and going wherever. Because there was a comic book shop right across the street, but it was so hot in that comic book shop. This solder joint just will not. Yeah, so kind of a different reason to go as opposed to going there to actually solder things. But I mean, I've done a lot of hand wiring and stuff. I just want to start working on actual printed, PCB kind of stuff, like printed circuit boards. I know, dude, like I used to like buy components for them all the time. They were way overpriced, but when I was doing my electronic art installations and stuff, I had to do a lot, of like buying components and replacing parts and stuff. And that was like the place to go to get it, because otherwise you had to wait 2 to 3 weeks and see if like a component manufacturer had anything in stock. So, because I had to buy very specific parts for those builds, things like Zener diodes and Darlington transistors. That was like a big one. It was like I had to have so many freaking Darlington transistors for the build that I was doing, and they're not easy to find, especially not in the types that the particular like values of stuff that I needed for mine. So rather than waiting, weeks for an electronics supplier to ship them to me, which I didn't have time. I was in class. I had to get those projects done. I used Radio Shack to buy them. And I would just go to like 3 or 4 different stores and just buy them out of all the components I needed. All right, 2 rows down. We're making very steady progress. Then we'll clip these LED leads off, we'll put the switches in place, solder those in, and we should be golden. I am going to have to lube one of the stabs, though. I only have 1 stab in this. This one has 2-unit spacebar, because I like that. I like that layout. Oh, actually, that reminds me. I think I put an LED in the wrong spot, because this is a 2-unit spacebar. We only need 1 LED down here. Well, I don't know. 2-unit spacebar. I could still have 2 LEDs. It would look kind of weird. It would be very bright. Nope, actually I can't, because I have to put the stabilizers there. So, never mind. Let's get this taken out. Oh yeah, and that's right, when you use the 2-unit spacebar, your LED is flipped. The negative is on the other side than normal. Okay, now we're back in business. It's looking pretty good though, so far. I don't like the way these ones look. They look like they're cold solder joints, but they aren't. Alright, so we're just soldering these LEDs in. We're on row 3. Got 2 more rows to go after this one. Then I'm going to take a quick pee break. We've been streaming for about 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is pretty damn good. Making good progress. And we've already gotten 1 board done today. And like I was saying with this one, this is like my Cadillac board. So this is the board that I use probably, this is going to be the one I use the most. So I really want this one to be perfect. This is the board that goes, probably going to end up going with me, or staying up at my desk upstairs. I mean, right now upstairs I'm using a Easy on the Wallet Preonic with lubed 78 gram Zelios, which is a very nice, very smooth board. I know Mange HD on YouTube is a friend of mine. He's on Discord, and he is always giving me shit about lubing switches. And I don't think it makes a huge difference to me. I think that stock switches often feel pretty good to me, but in the case of 78 gram Zelios, that actually feels pretty damn good. They feel very, very smooth. I feel like they lost a little bit of the tactility on them. And I don't know why that is, but they just feel a little less tactile. But 78 gram Zelios don't really have a ton of tactility compared to the 67 gram Zelios. Those are just really tactile feeling. But I do like that 78 gram board. It's very high quality. Now, considering, because I have tons of 78 gram Zelios, so I'm considering lubing those ones up and putting them in my boss's board, the one I was talking about putting box browns in, because I mean I have like 200 something Zelios, so I could put a couple of my 70, or use like half of my 78 gram Zelios in that board. But I mean, it's a full-size board, so it's 104 switches, which ends up being about $104. So I don't know. Costs me money to do it, and he doesn't really. I don't think he'd really care much if I put that in or something else. So the other thing is, I know that he uses the 65-gram Zelios right now, and he likes them. So I don't know if he really liked the 78 grams. They are considerably heavier. So that's something to consider. I mean, they're not heavy. I don't think they're a heavy switch. They never really feel super heavy. Dr. Doomapple says he's lubing vintage blacks right now, which means that, see, that's linear, man. I don't like linear switches. I've tried typing on black switches. I actually have some in a little mechanical board that we use for we use it for switching positions, map positions on this one software package that we developed. And so I don't type on it, but I've used them. And I don't like linears. I just don't like the way they feel. They feel very just boring, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, they're smooth and all that, but I like the tactile feel. I like knowing that I clicked my switch. I mean, I guess it's not like you don't know you clicked your switch when using a linear. You can feel it hit. But the feedback, the tactile feedback from an actual tactile switch, to me is wonderful. Almost done. You can't help, Lube can't help vintage black. But they're talking about like vintage, like old used black switches that are supposedly smoothed out, right? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I would like linears, but I'd have to try. I'd have to like type on them for a while to really see if I actually enjoyed them. And I don't want to build a board that I am not gonna like. So I'd have to like borrow someone's or make a sacrificial board of some kind. And just not interested in doing that right now. Like I said, I'm willing to try it, but same thing with lubing switches. For a long time, I just was kind of like, eh. And then I said I'm willing to try it, and so I did. And it's okay. It's not the ultimate thing that everybody seems to say it is. To me, it isn't. Okay. We are all soldered in. Let's see if we can light this up. Okay, now, so this particular board, I have to activate the LEDs on it. I can do thought that I had... Maybe I didn't flash this right. I thought that I had flashed this to allow that. Because it used to be that this board had just... You had to hit one switch to light them up. There we go. There's a couple that look like they might have some cold solder joints or something because they are not lighting up. Okay. I'm just going to mark those. Man, quite a few of them actually. Hope it's not the LEDs themselves. Could be though. Yeah, it looks like they're just it's just the solder joints. Yeah, they keep... Oh, they could be shorting out too though. Yeah, I think they're just shorting out. Okay, these guys are fine. There we go. Alright. So... Wow, that is a bright... That is very bright. Look at how... Super bright LEDs. I love these LEDs. Okay. So we still had 9 people watching. You guys, I want to thank you for sticking around. I know soldering LEDs is not the most exciting thing in the world. So, yeah, thanks for sticking around and hanging out in the channel. We're going to clip these LED legs off now, and then we're going to put the switches in the plate, place that over top of this thing, solder everything together, and then we will be good to go. Be very careful about clipping these because I do not want to clip a resistor like I did last time. That really sucked. Especially on this PCB because this is my Cadillac PCB and I do not want to mess it up. But the night that I did that, I was kind of in a hurry, so I guess that's kind of to be expected. You're in a hurry doing these kinds of things. Oh, God, I hate this song. I gotta remove this from my playlist. Just gonna get all these legs in position so that I can do these correctly. Whew. As soon as I'm done clipping these legs off, I'm going to use the restroom real quick. And then we'll get back into building. So the Nyquist build that I'm doing later this week, it actually has a MOSFET. It has a MOSFET chip that like you can add on to it, and I believe it's an SMD component. So I've never done SMD soldering, so this is going to be very difficult. That's why I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to do the build this week, because I might have to get a different tip for my soldering iron to do it correctly. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. With my soldering iron right now, just the tip is good for general purpose, but for super small like microelectronics, it definitely is not going to work. But the guy who makes those boards, Baking Pie, he pretty cool dude, very easy to approach. So if there's an issue, he usually answers pretty quickly. So if I need some help knowing how to do it correctly, I can always ask him. So clipping these LED legs off. The one next to the MCU always bothers me. As all the components in this area are very close together. Whew. Okay. Actually, we don't need this on anymore. That looks weird. I don't like the way that looks. Actually, the standoffs aren't built in. The standoffs aren't built in on this board. It's just that I have them screwed in right now. There's two little screws. There's like a little screw right here. It goes on the bottom of the standoff right there. Unless you mean built into this PCB as in like there's a spot for them on the PCB. Which I could see how you would mean that. Okay. There's like this one spot here that looks really weird on the... Oh, well, I guess we'll find out. Who's in the doorway behind me? Oh, it's creepy. Oh, just me summoning demons as usual. So actually, I'm gonna have to open up the garage door in a second because it's getting really warm in here. Way too warm, actually. I'm actually considering getting some kind of ventilation in here. I just gotta figure out how I want to do it. Because it doesn't stay hot in, you know, as Tedford knows, it doesn't stay hot in this city at all. It's hot for like a few weeks and then it gets back down to like, you know, generally warm or cool temperatures. But so I've thought about getting those little like portable air conditioners, so I can cool down this studio when I'm doing streaming. But the problem is that they're expensive for one. They're like $300 for a good one, and that's even for like kind of a smaller good one, and they're very loud. So that's another issue. Since we got the garage door open, I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. Yeah, actually, that's what I was thinking about doing, Tedford. I was actually putting, so up on this wall that's behind me, like right above this door here, like up here, I was thinking about putting some ventilation fans up in there and just running those. And that should help quite a bit, actually. Because I can just get like, so I don't think I'm going to use 120 millimeter fans though. I think I'm actually going to go to the hardware store and get like bathroom privacy fans, something similar anyway. The 120 millimeter fans just aren't going to move enough air in this particular size of a room because its cubic foot per minute is very, very small. So I'd need something like those, like a much larger fan that pulls more air. They are louder, unfortunately, but they're going to be able to move the amount of air that I need to move to get this room cooled down quickly. And there's some things I can do to like get them to be a little quieter. You can run them at slower. You can get fans, like adjustable fans, that run at a much slower rate. And that could be a solution as well. You wanted to get a duct all the way to your soldering station? Yeah, I'm just talking about heat dispersion because it's really hot in here. It gets to be in the summer, you know, when it's 70 or 80 degrees outside. This whole wall, I built this wall, and this wall is insulated. So all the heat stays in here. But in the winter, it stays warm in here, which is good because it's freezing in that garage. So I built it this way to allow myself to do studio work in the studio. But yeah, so I just need something to disperse the heat. The soldering fumes isn't really that big of an issue. This space is big enough that it can do that, and then it can just open up the other half of the garage and let the air kind of flow that way. But when it comes to heat, it just doesn't help. Having that door open though, having this door open here, that's been a big deal. It's helped a lot to maintain the temperature. When I have to keep it closed, it gets to be 90 degrees in here. Okay, LEDs are all clipped. Let's make sure that it's still functional. And it is. All the LEDs glow perfectly. Okay. Let's get these LED legs off the table. So, where are you going to build your studio or your workshop? Where are you thinking about building it? I mean, I'm lucky I have a garage I can put it in. I could put it in my spare room upstairs, but I mean, I'm dealing with resin and stuff a lot, and that would just be a mess. Be a disaster waiting to happen. Okay, now, switches and... Oh, first things first. I'll be right back. I'm going to use the bathroom, and then we'll get back into this. I'm also going to get more water. 5 minutes. Okay. Oh, Tedford, did you, I didn't know did you own your house? You own a house, I should say? For some reason I thought you were living in an apartment. I don't know why I thought that. Throw down some pavement, polish it, throw up some walls and a roof. Nice, man. Sounds like a plan. It's a lot of work, but nice thing is that once it's done, it's done. Yeah, I love building stuff in my house. Someday I would like to have a wood shop kind of thing going. Because I do build a lot of like shelves and stuff for my house, which has been really, really useful. Alright, let's get that 2-unit space. Let's get this in there. Oh, you know what? We gotta lube this, guys. This needs lube. So I can't remember. I think these are not the genuine cherry ones that I've got. I've got genuine cherry stabs here somewhere. At least I thought I did. I might not have them anymore. I might have used them for another build. Nope. Looks like I used them for something else. These are all my plate-mounted stabs. Okay, well, no biggie. I haven't used yeah, that's fine. So let's get some lube on these real quick. You need a wood and a wood shop that's not in the house. Or sorry, a soldering station that's not in the house. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Man, I'll tell you what, I do not want to work today. I have to, but I am not looking forward to it. Oh wait, it's this way. I don't know why I always get this backwards, but yeah, there we go. There we go. Alright, we'll just put a little lube on there. Doesn't need much. We're going to put a little lube on the actual housings of these stabilizers as well. Again, really doesn't need much. So I can't remember, Tedford, I can't remember if you live, like, what neighborhood do you live in? I think we talked about this last time we hung out, but I can't remember what neighborhood it is you live in town. I just freaking hate how expensive Bellingham is now. It didn't seem like it was that expensive when I first moved here back in 2010. Now everything is so freaking expensive. You live in Sunnyland. Oh, man. I don't know how you would freaking afford your place, but congratulations. I looked at a place in Sunnyland, and it was $380,000 for an 800 square foot place. I mean, like, what the fart, man? $380,000 for an 800 square foot place. That's just stupid expensive. The place looked nice. I mean, it was remodeled and stuff, but come on. There's no way that it's worth that much. Remodeling or no, that's asking a lot. Oh yeah, I can't remember if these are clipped or not. Shoot. Yeah, I don't remember if these are clipped. Let me check that. I don't think they are. Did I clip these? Oh, weird. Yeah, these don't even come with, you can't even clip them. There's nothing to clip. Yeah, it's now that it's a retiree community, it's extremely expensive here, which is a shame. But I don't know. When I eventually go to sell my house, I'll be able to make a decent amount off of it, I guess. There's actually a guy that lives just down the road from me here, like three or four houses down the road, and he actually used to live in Silicon Valley. He lived in or not Silicon Valley. He lived in San Francisco, and he sold his house and came here. His house in San Francisco, when he left, he sold it for. I think he said he sold it for $750,000, and it was the same size as the place he's in now. So think of that. Like, that's next level. Yeah, I'm not sure if I don't like these stabilizers. They're a little scratchy. Scratch that. No, they're actually not just a little scratchy. They're very scratchy. Who cares? I'm not going to try to do anything with that. I've put enough lube in them. I'm not going to try to get crazy with that lube job. Lube isn't going to fix it. And I put them in the wrong position too. Dingus. I put them in upside down. I'm not paying attention today. Alright. We'll put a little more lube into one spot in the housing where I think it might help. But otherwise, I don't think there's very much you can do with this particular stabilizer. Okay. There we go. That's a little better. Alright, let's solder these things in now. Fix it with fire. Yeah, I don't know if fire would actually fix this. If you're wondering why I put this paper towel down, it's because it slides around a lot. This needs a little better cleaning. Okay, back into it. Okay. For some reason, this switch is not staying down. There we go. So I'm just soldering the four corners. Pretty common method for a lot of people building boards. It's just so you can clip the other switches in really easily, because these ones will be stabilized and in the right position. So even though with the way that these switches work and are designed, it's not going to be that big of an issue. It's actually plenty of room. Alright, so now we got these in there. I want to see what these look like with that switch housing. It's interesting. Okay, let's clip the rest of these switches in. Okay. Apparently, the LED on this one is getting in the way. That could be a problem. That could be a problem with multiple switches then. Yeah, these are actually a little harder to clip in, just in general. I was noticing that when I was getting them kind of placed earlier, just with a few switches that I was using, that they seem to be a little bit more difficult to clip in. The tolerance may be just a little bit tighter on these compared to the normal Zelios. It's very, very tight. So it's not like a quick clip in like these other ones have been in the past. Kind of have a little method that I'm using here to clip them in correctly. And like They definitely resist, though. Alright, see, man. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. I'm glad you got to see some of my build. Oh yeah, these already feel really nice. Definitely way more tactile than Zelios are. And they have a really satisfying pushback on them. Pretty heavy. They still have a little bit of a punch-through feel. There's a little bit of a punch-through feel. It's like not as pronounced as on the other ones, though. As on the the regular box Royals. These are the punch-through feeling is muted, I would say, because of the spring weight, and the leaf is a little less tactile, from what I understand. It's not that crazy tactile bump that's on the box Royal, but it does have the heavier. Hey, Jay Hall, what's going on, man? These are the box Hako Royal Clear. Box Hako Royal Clear. So these are the new Switch that just came out, available on Novel Keys. It's a very tactile Switch. Yeah, very, very tactile. But doesn't have the punch through that box Royals do. So it's a little smoother feeling in general. And I think I like this Switch a lot. Problem is that they have a bit of a challenge getting them in position. They clip in a little bit harder. They're a little stiff clipping them in compared to your standard Switch. And what I mean by that is that they their tolerance on this particular plate anyway. Their tolerance is a little bit tighter, and so it doesn't quite clip in smoothly. Really got to kind of get in there and press pretty hard to get it clipped in. And this board that we're building, J Hall, this is the Mass Drop Preonic with the Rev 2 PCB. Earlier, we had finished putting together the Rev 1 Preonic, old school Preonic. That's all been put together. Last stream I did, I went through and desoldered the switches on that one, put in some new switches, and lubed them up. Or I should say, I desoldered the LEDs. I didn't desolder the switches. I desoldered the switches on this board. This used to be 70, or this used to be 67 gram Zelios. Yeah, couldn't remember. Or sorry, no, 78 gram Zelios. This was a 78 gram Zelios with this was with magenta LEDs, magenta in switch LEDs. And that's what I'm actually still putting magenta LEDs in this one. But the way the LEDs work, holy crap. This guy just does not want to cooperate. Oh, it's because the LED is a little crooked. Let's try to uncrookedize that LED without breaking it. Easier said than done. I might have to desolder that LED. I just cracked my thumbnail in half. Ouch. That hurt. Yeah, that guy got a little rotated. I might have to unsolder that one and retry it. It's like crooked in there. No, we're not. Yeah, a couple of these just got a little crooked, that's all. A little coaxing with some pliers. Pull them back a bit. You don't want to pull and push too hard though, because the LED plastic cracks a lot. Yeah, they're very tight compared to these are way tighter compared to like Zelios, which just clipped right in immediately. These just have a much tighter tolerance. Which, I mean, that's fine. Just means they fit in a little nicer. And make sure there's no odd switches sticking out weird ways. Okay. Like that one. No, it does not want to go in. Alright, this switch does not want to go in now. Getting kind of a good system in here though. It's just that some of these LEDs twisted just a bit, and so because of that, can't quite get the switches in as perfect. So I have to kind of adjust them one at a time. We're moving right along though, and then we'll solder these switches in. Be pretty much done. Solder the switches in, put keycaps on, assemble the board, all that. And I'm going to type on this today. I actually have to go back, I have to do work today, today and tomorrow. Got a bunch of documentation that needs written up. And so that's what I'll be focusing on. And so I want to type on something new, something nice, and I'm thinking that this would be a perfect time to break these switches in and see how much I like them. Obviously, putting them on my absolute favorite board, a bit of a risk, but the way that they felt, the way that I like box Royals, and then as soon as I pulled these out of the box and tried them out, when I got them the other day, I immediately knew, like, this was going to be a pretty decent switch for me. I think this one is going to be definitely going to be have a permanent home in this board, so I'm okay with that. This switch looks like this switch is going to be a problem. Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be a problem. This LED is bent forward. Ooh, don't want to bend it that far back. Okay. We're making pretty good progress, though. We're almost done. So, J Hall, you've let's see, your box Royals. How do you like the box Royals? I think we talked about this last time. I can't remember though. Personally, I like them. I think they're actually a really nice switch. They're not like other switches. Obviously, quite a different feel compared to other switches. I really like it. I like the intense tactility that comes with them. I keep saying it, but it's a clicky without the click. That's how it feels like. That's what it feels like to me. They have that really sharp tactility that a clicky switch would have, but yeah, they're not strong enough at the bottom, and that's what I think. I think you would like these then, because the tactility on these is, or the strength of the spring on this definitely addresses that issue. Yeah, these are a stiffer spring and a slightly less tactile bump. So it's a little tiny bit less tactile, but because of that fact, it doesn't have that punch-through feeling that you get with the Royals, because the tactility at the top isn't so intense, but it's still very sharp. So I think that they made a really good compromise with this switch. Hey, Tofu Mom, this is the box. This is the Hako Royal Clear. Hako Royal Clear switches. Intense tactility and a high spring weight. I think they're 75 grams. Something around there. Yeah, these are a new switch, and they are quite nice. It is 2 o'clock. We've been streaming for about 3 hours. Thanks, y'all, for tuning in, as usual. Really appreciate you guys hanging out, spending some time with me while I mess with my boards. It's a lot of fun. Just a couple more switches to go. We'll solder these in, and then we'll be pretty much done. And then I will have to take a break and get back to work for the day, because I have to go to work. Well, I don't have to go to work. I'm working from home, but I have to work. Got a ton of stuff that needs to be done. Oh, come on. There we go. It's 11 p.m. Well, yeah, you're in Sweden, man. You're pretty much on the other side of the world. You crazy Swedes. Always watching my stream. I think you're in Sweden, right? Yeah, Tofu Mom, it's 2 o'clock here as well. I wanted to sleep in a little more, but I had to get stuff done today because I know that the next 2 days, you know, or the next week, I'm not gonna be able to get anything done, so I did not sleep in at all. Oh, Dr. Doom Apple is German. Sorry. I thought you were for some reason I thought you were a Swede. This whole time, I thought you were in Sweden, dude. I'm thinking of Disco Frog, probably. That's who I'm thinking of. But in general, you Euro folks always hanging out in my stream, which is really cool. Because I don't really know many European people in general. Okay. Let's get these things soldered so I can go eat some lunch. And I might do a little bit of resin casting later on tonight. I'm trying to get into mass production mode on the... trying to get to that mass production mode with those new keycaps. Which, Tofu Mom, I still plan on sending you that space bar. I know that I said that a while ago, and I really apologize that I haven't done it yet. But I've had a lot on my plate. And I wanted to send you a couple more things as well. So that will be in the mail very soon. I actually have to send a bunch of stuff out on Monday. So I might even send it out then. I'm also sending some stuff to Disco Frog that same day. So it's coming. It's coming. Row 1, almost done. And actually, my DSA Drifter keycaps might be in the mail right now. So I'm going to check on that, because if they're already here, I might be able to put those on this board today. I've been using SA Max Keys SA Miami on this board for a long time, and I think it's time for a change. Try a different set. DSA I think will look really good, and I think it's going to feel really good with this particular set of switches. So. Oh, you want to see the tentacle ones? Tofu Mom, I think you've been seeing these, but look at these guys. My tentacle switches. I should send some to Mange, but I'm gonna have to get him to promise me to do something, maybe in exchange. Maybe he can stop bugging me about lubing switches, and I'll send him some keycaps. Maybe. And I know what his answer is gonna be. Never. I will never stop bugging you about lubing. But I'm not sure if you were watching. I'm not sure if you were watching Mange, but I lubed the stabilizers on this build. I don't know if you saw that. You should be proud. I didn't Band-Aid mod it though, because I'm not crazy. I'm not a crazy person. Okay, just about done. Where are we? There we are. I'm really stoked to use this board too. This is one of my favorites. Open source rune. Yeah, I'm hoping I can play some video games this weekend. I was playing Monster Hunter on Xbox last night. But I was working out. I like to ride my exercise bike while I play video games downstairs, because I kind of keeps my attention, makes the exercise go a little faster, or not faster, but it makes it seem less tedious when I'm riding the exercise bike, because the exercise bike is kind of boring. So I play Monster Hunter while I'm doing it. Oh, that was open source RuneScape. For some reason, I don't know why I thought you said it was open source. Old school. You need to take a quick coffee break here. My nice iced soy vanilla latte. Okay, moving right along. Let's get this camera positioned again. Better positioning. You can see what I'm working on. Oh, the launcher you use is open source. Okay. There's a couple games that I really want to work on. I actually got my gaming streaming set up finalized upstairs. I think I just need one more light, maybe, to kind of make sure that the room is lit up evenly. I have pretty good lighting, but the problem is that during the day when the sunlight's shining on my green screen, it confuses the camera, and so it has some issues with the green screen. But I'll start doing gaming streams here somewhat soon, because I'd like to kind of do a mix of both gaming streams and keyboard streams. So I'll probably end up doing like keyboard streams middle of the week, gaming streams during the weekends. Or, sorry, the other way around. Keyboard streams during the weekends, gaming streams during the week. Because doing the keyboard streams after I come home from work is a little bit difficult. Only because I have to, get home from work and immediately hop on and start working on it. Oh, looks like we got a switch that has a bent pin. So I'm going to need to pull that switch. Which I have, my switch puller is MIA. Well, it's not ideal, but I can use these pliers to pull it. Make sure I'm on the right row. Right, middle switch, yeah. There we go. There we go, much better. So we are making really good progress here, guys. We are on the third row of switches already. Making awesome progress. Then we'll put the whole board together. Put the keycaps. I will see if they have DSA Drifter in the mail, but I won't do that on stream if they aren't in the mail, because I have to go to the mailbox, and that takes like not 10 minutes, but like 5 minutes or so. And I don't want to leave the stream for 5 minutes while I go and get them. It'd be cool if I could set up some, if I could find a game that some of my viewers play that I could play with you guys. I think that'd be fun. Co-op game of some kind. I don't own a lot of, I don't do a lot of first-person shooter kind of stuff, and certain ones that I do play you can't really stream very well, like Destiny. Destiny is very hard to stream because of the Destiny blocks. It blocks streaming stuff, like you can't capture the window, you have to capture the entire display, which is very difficult for the graphics, or sorry, OBS has a hard time just capturing the entire display as opposed to just the screen, or sorry, the gaming window. So I've done it once, and I streamed once or twice, and like it just really was choking a lot on it. It was basically maxing out my frame rate, or my CPU, and like in certain areas it wasn't so bad, but it was looking like garbage once I started going into combat and stuff. It just couldn't handle it. So I gotta fix that, figure out what to stream at, set up my defaults and all that for streaming that game. Come on. This is weird. I'm gonna find the end. There it is. Alright, we are just about at the end. It's got a little more. A couple more switches to go on this row. And then we'll be on row 5. And then we're all done. Ah, just almost done. Almost done. One more switch. And there it is, folks. It's all done. And there it is, all lit up. Gorgeous. You can kind of see how bright it is here if I cover this up. Oh yeah, that feels great. All right, let's put it together. I know I'm missing one standoff there. So we got one screw that's for the standoff. That goes... which one is it? It is this one. Problem is these standoffs are a total pain to put in place. I remember having issues with this when I originally built it. They're very difficult. Yeah. Because there's like, the screwdriver has to be like really, really tiny to get in there. And I remember it was a problem because it wasn't quite the right size. I should have done this before I put the board together, but I forgot about it. So now we just have to get this guy in place, which actually I can probably do with some tweezers. Maybe not. And this guy isn't magnetic, otherwise I would do it that way, but I have to do this a weird way, I think. I mean, it's not like it's a super important standoff to have, but no, we'll do it the backwards way. We'll screw the standoff in place first. Go. Yeah, see, I knew that was going to happen. Just can't quite get it in there because it doesn't line up, and then it just falls. Maybe if I just put a little bit of, I can use something else, I suppose. Like some hot glue or something? I don't know. I don't know what to use. There we go. Now maybe with a... It's like the size of this screw is so funky. None of the screws that I have, none of the screw heads that I have will actually fit it. None of the screwdriver heads. Because it's like really small. Let me try maybe one more that I can try. No, that one's not going to work either. It's like this, the head is just like this tiny little thing. So, I suppose I could hold it in place with this and just... Well, it's in there now, so... I'm just worried that screw is going to come out. It's really not in there very well. And this screwdriver is too pointed to really get in there. but we can worry about that at a different time. I actually need to reflash this board. I think there's a mistake on it, on the file. What is this? This screw is acting very weird. These standoffs are not, this is not well thought out. Now they're coming undone. Yeah, I had a bunch of problems with the screws coming out a couple of months ago. Yeah, see now there's one loose in there. Now I have to undo them all. Yeah, this was not. And that one won't come out at all. Can't even see where it is now. Like this one got cross-threaded maybe? Oh my god. This is like these standoffs are a freaking nightmare. This is like the most ridiculous situation to be in. It's like I can't quite That's not gonna go on there. Yeah, I cannot get that to stay in place. That one is just not cooperating at all. Yeah, let's leave that one blank. Fuck it. Leave it the where it is. It's not worth it. It's probably why it was like the way it was in the first place. It probably got screwed up when I was trying to mess with it, and then I just decided to say, screw it. It's not worth it. The board is pretty well held together with the screws I've got in place. Alright, almost done. Well, there goes that screw. And these screws are so tiny. I think it landed in here somewhere, but it's hard to say. These tiny little M2 screws, man. Once they're gone, if they fall, they pretty much just disappear forever. Because they don't make any noise when they fall, because they're too small. And they bounce really far. I need to sweep in this studio. There's a lot of parts and stuff on the floor. Well, it's together. It's missing a couple screws, but it's not worth trying to chase them down and get them in place for it. I would like to be able to stabilize this one side, but that's the side that I can't get the screw into. So, just might not happen. Yeah, if I don't get this in the correct spot, then I've got to unscrew all of those guys all over again. And this one just missing a screw on it, but I can find one, maybe. I might even be able to, like, I might just hot glue this to this screw to another screw or another screwdriver and get it in there. But or put like a little straw in there and like drop it down the straw. I don't know. It does not want to go in there. Okay. Switches are in. Board still functions. Still gorgeous. Still a fantastic looking board. All right. Well, guys, I think that's it for today's stream. We're just about 15 minutes out from 4 hours. We got 3 hours, 45 minutes. Yeah, it's been a very busy stream. Got a lot going on. So it looks good. I think I need to figure out how I'm going to get that one screw back in there. Maybe try to find some more M2 screws to replace the one that fell. There's two missing. There's this one, and this one just, I think I just have to, I'm going to have to remove it somehow. Find some way to get in there and just, I'm just going to take that thing out entirely. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I just don't like how it rattles around in there. That's going to be really annoying. All right, well, thanks for joining the stream. Thanks for hanging out. I will post pictures of the final build of this as soon as I get done with it. I'm going to go see if DSA Drifter is in my mailbox, and then we'll go from there. Well, thanks for hanging out, you guys, and I will see you on the next stream, probably sometime middle of this week.